In the Shadow of Obscurity, Toiling in a Reluctant Society by Arif Khatib and Pete Elman. Read to you by Elva Nelson Hayes. Introduction. The history of America has been written by men and women of every color and ethnicity. African Americans and other athletes of color have stood tall during both their disappointments and triumphs, and throughout history, they have displayed tremendous courage both on and off the field. This has been accomplished by determination and by rising above segregation and stereotypes to become leaders in every facet of American life. They have played a pivotal role in the shaping of sports in America. Athletes of color began to participate in the Third Olympics held in St. Louis in 1904. Once they were finally allowed to compete equally, they were eventually able to succeed in and even dominate many sports. The color lines fell slowly but surely. Their achievements in sports in general, and the Olympics in particular, are historic and extraordinary. These men and women were sustained by a culture of unity, purpose, and faith. They knew the eyes of the world were focused on them, and they had to excel to push open the doors for others. In 2007, longtime Bay Area sports writer and author Dave Newhouse wrote a beautiful piece in the East Bay Times about the Tuskegee Airmen, in which he described those World War II heroes as once disgraced, now embraced, a phrase that could be applied to all these athletes as well. The African American Sports Hall of Fame was established by Arif Khatib in 2000 to bring attention to the treatment of minority athletes in the sports world by inducting those who were not chosen by other halls of fame. Since then, over 300 athletes and coaches and 275 community leaders have been enshrined in or honored by the hall. These individuals followed a road paved with landmines of injustice, racism, bigotry, and discrimination. Later, as society became more inclusive to multiracial, multicultural, and multi-ethnic people, Khatib chose to induct not just athletes of color into the hall. He felt it was time to induct non-minority athletes that have made significant contributions to their chosen sports and their communities. Thus was born the Multi-Ethnic Sports Hall of Fame. When asked for non-minorities to be nominated, the hall received well over 50 names. I think adjusting your Hall of Fame to include all humans, regardless of color, is a brilliant stroke, said Monty Poole, longtime respected sports columnist for the Bay Area News Group, and a contributor to this collection. Some might believe any change would dilute the hall, make it somehow less pure. The way I see it, you'd be recognizing not just the color of one's skin, but all those, regardless of skin color, who contributed to the cause of equality. When recently asked once again to support the nomination of the late Curt Flood to the Baseball Hall of Fame, Khatib held fast to his belief that Flood was a person who changed the face of sports with his brave stand in 1971 when he took his case arguing against baseball's reserve clause all the way to the Supreme Court. Although he lost, his action led the way to free agency, and his sacrifice created opportunities for hundreds of other athletes who today are receiving astronomical contracts. It is a travesty that Curt Flood is not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. His terrific career, combined with his fearless courage in the face of great opposition, should have guaranteed him a spot long ago. I enthusiastically signed the annual petition from his daughter for his nomination, and the fact that he has been bypassed each year has helped provide the inspiration and impetus for this book, said Khatib. Khatib was a friend of Flood's, and he promised Curt that he would keep his sacrifice before the public. Khatib has a proposal in front of the city of Oakland to present an annual event in which the Curt Flood Platinum Award will be presented to the most valuable player that year from each major sport that benefited from Curt's effort to create free agency. The event will not only shine a light on Flood's deserving of Hall of Fame status, but also bring visibility to the Kurt Flood Field, a youth baseball field that can be a beacon for young ball players. In 2004, the African American Sports Hall of Fame celebrated 100 years of African American participation in the Olympics. And not surprisingly, there were no parades or other celebrations in our communities of color. During that induction ceremony, presented in conjunction with the Olympic trials in Sacramento, it was said, "Never before and probably never again." A historical reference to the fact that the inducted athletes, both dead and living, had never been honored in the same room and probably never would be again. That sentiment was expressed by Willie White, a 5-time Mississippi-born and raised Olympian sprinter, as she participated in the celebration of 12 Black Olympians and one coach who were inducted into the African American Sports Hall of Fame in 2004, their careers spanning from 1936 to 1968. Willie is one of the athletes we pay tribute to in this book. The ceremony marked the 100th anniversary of the first African American participation in the 1904 Olympics held in St. Louis, when George Poage earned bronze medals in the 200 and 400 meter hurdles, and Joseph Stadler won a silver medal in the standing high jump. The event was entered into the Congressional Record of the House of Representatives when 11-term California Congresswoman, the Honorable Barbara Lee, rose to honor the induction of these Olympians. The theme for that ceremony was coined by Olympian and decorated Korean War fighter pilot Mal Whitfield, who said, "From the auction blocks to the Olympic starting blocks." Athletes of color also made history that same year when Maritza Correa became the first Puerto Rican of African descent to be a member on the U.S. Olympic swimming team. "I can't tell you how good this feels just to have made the team," Correa said. And when track star Ana Guevara crossed the finish line later that year in Paris after running the fastest quarter mile of her life, she became the first Mexican runner to win the 400-meter run at the World Track and Field Championship or the Olympics. My country will be very happy. Now I'm compared with all of the other people of sports, the boxing people, the baseball people, and the football people. This victory changed a lot of minds, said Guevara. There are hundreds of world-class athletes of color that have never been properly recognized, for example, like Billy Mills, Native American winner of the gold medal in the 10,000-meter run at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. A member of the Olala Sioux tribe, he is in the Multi-Ethnic Hall of Fame and featured in the documentary Because They Believed. Mills is a track legend, but not a lot of people are aware of his compelling story, Khatib recalled. I saw the 1983 film Running Brave about Mills' life and was much moved. Little did I know that many years later, I would have the opportunity to meet him, become his friend, and even induct him into my Hall of Fame. Mills won the 10,000-meter gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics in 1964, the first non-European to win that Olympic event. He had run cross-country for the University of Kansas and earned All-American honors, the only non-white distance runner to do so. During the photo session at a collegiate cross-country championship meet, he was asked to step out of the shot. Mills had been asked to step out before then, at least 3 or 4 times. At that time, he said, I thought it was for racial reasons. Depressed, he contemplated suicide, but on the brink of taking his own life, he heard his dead father's voice speaking to him, telling him not to give up. After that, he committed himself to running and ultimately achieved his dream. Breaking the tape at the Olympic Games was the most humbling experience because I understood what it meant to me and my people. Before that moment, I felt different almost every day of my life, like I didn't belong, said Mills. He became the first Native American gold medal winner since Jim Thorpe won the pentathlon and decathlon at the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm. When he interviewed Mills for his documentary, Khatib recalled, since we were friends, he shared something with me that he had not shared before, and this story is riveting. There's footage there that will bring tears to your eyes when he recalls his youth on the Sioux Reservation. Race car driver Willie T Ribs, now 65, had to overcome many obstacles to reach his goal of becoming a professional race car driver. He was the first African American driver to test a Formula One car and compete in the Indianapolis 500. But his career was hurt by his strong personality and his standing up to the often reactionary and racist leadership of NASCAR. His story is in this book. The Negro baseball leagues flourished during the first half of the 20th century and contributed tremendously to American baseball history. The perseverance demonstrated by these men who simply wanted to play ball is an untold story that's finally being told. You will also learn the stories of Mamie Peanut Johnson and Toni Stone, two brave women who played in the Negro Leagues and who are featured in this book. That era offered a fascinating glimpse into American sports and revealed a rich and colorful story which not only had a profound impact on our national pastime, but upon America's social and moral development in the 20th century. This book describes the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of these brave and talented athletes. We hope that you enjoy it and are able to gain some insight and derive inspiration from their heartfelt stories. Arif Khatib and Pete Elman, Oakland, California, 2020.